Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is your boy, the coach from the WWE. I would like to welcome you to the very first wrestling podcast in the world to take you on a weekly deep dive into classic matches along with legends of the squared circle. Enjoy the discussion. Enjoy the back and forth. There's so much to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Payoff.
Welcome to 2023 and welcome to The Payoff. I'm Tom. That's Jeff. You know, every 5 to 10 shows, I just get extra amped up for the match we're going to cover. Jeff, this is one. I love this tag team of the Rockers. I haven't seen this match in forever, but it's regarded as one of their best and really one of the best tag team matches you're going to see, certainly during this era. And this was just an awesome Royal Rumble. So many great memories of this show. I actually want to go back and watch this whole show at some point soon. I'm super pumped to cover this one. What about you? What are your thoughts? Why did you want to cover this one?
Yeah, so this was actually kind of – so we had another match slated for this week, and we were actually going to do Omega Okada 1 to start the new year with New Japan and Wrestle Kingdom and all that other stuff, which we have pushed that back because – I was looking at it. This is actually, credit where credit's due here. This is a fan requested match for us. Shout out on Twitter. This is from Leoci's Corner. Big fan. He loves tweeting at us, so we love hearing from our fans, of course. And so, and this is what we do. If we hear from you, and there's a match that we're like, holy shit, we forgot about this one, or we just didn't have this on our list. That is this match. And so, this was kind of the Rockers at really a high point at this, in this point of career. And so, covering this one, I kind of was looking at this match a little bit. I decided like, hey, we're gonna slate this one. So I think it was literally just a couple days ago where I was like, hey, we're switching it up, and so we're gonna do this match instead, because after I started kind of looking at, okay, there's something special here. Like, this is actually a pretty good match, and so and also, like, what better than to start the new year, of course, with some of the Rockers here, Tom's favorite over there, Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty. We actually don't have a Shawn Michaels match scheduled for a little bit here, and so we had to kind of get this one in here to have some good stuff here. So yeah, I too, again with you, other than the reading I've done a little bit here and prepping for the match, like, I think we're see something pretty special.
Yeah, we've really hyped this one up, but I think it's going to be pretty awesome. So I'm looking forward to it. And if it's okay with you, Jeff, let's get right into the build.
Oh, it's time for the build.
So 1991 Royal Rumble, and we're kicking off Royal Rumble season with this one. We've got a couple really good Rumble matches coming up. I'm really excited to cover it. 91's an interesting year. So 93, we went to the winner getting the title shot. 92 was Flair winning the title, so that was kind of a special, unique one. So 91's actually the last year where it wasn't the automatic championship. However, the winner did end up getting the title match. So you wonder why they didn't just connect the dots and put that together before, because it would have made things, during the show, I guess, a little bit more interesting.
Right.
I got to tell you, man, this is, and I'll get into the reviews, so it's not just me, but this is just one of my favorite pay-per-views ever. Loved it. Just a lot happening. And, Jeff, the match we're going to cover, Meltzer called it the best match on pay-per-view since Steamboat Savage.
Right.
Okay. I doubt anyone listening to this was bothered by the Sergeant Slaughter stuff. I know some were at the time, but man, that guy had heel heat.
Yep.
And do I want to see that happen the next time there's a terrorist attack that we have a character on Raw that is from there? No, I don't. So, a lot of things are different in society, but in that moment, I mean, it was just really, it worked. So anyway, we kick the show off with the match we're going to cover. I mean, it's kind of like the WCW cruiserweights of just throw great tags out there and have a great tag team match to open the show. Bossman would defeat the Barbarian, 15 minutes. Then we got the title match of Sergeant Slaughter defeating the Ultimate Warrior. And again, the famous scepter from Savage. He interferes, costs Warrior the match. We're going to get Warrior and Savage at WrestleMania. We're going to get Slaughter and Hogan at WrestleMania. The Royal Rumble sets WrestleMania up. WrestleMania 7 for me it's one of my all-time favorite shows, to the point where, like, and I've asked you this question before, but like, if you could go attend any show, like go back in history and be front row to any show, that's up there for me. I just love that show. Mountie would defeat Coco Beware in 9 minutes. DiBiase and Virgil would defeat Dusty and Dustin Rhodes in a tag match in 10 minutes. Really fun, right? And then you had a great Royal Rumble with Hogan last eliminating the Earthquake. Keep in mind, Earthquake and Hogan had really a year-long feud. Even after Royal Rumble leading into WrestleMania, Hogan was beating Earthquake in stretcher matches. So these guys had like a year-long feud, which, again, you listen to any of the old timers, they'll tell you that whoever was working Hogan was making the most money other than Hogan. So that was a prime spot for Earthquake to be. But yeah, just a really, really fun show. Jeff, you go through the names that were in this Rumble. I won't go through all of them, but like Bret Hart, Undertaker, Hogan, Jake Roberts, Bulldog, The Model, Nasty Boys, Legion of Doom, Earthquake. You go through all these and it's awesome, man. It is absolutely incredible. So anyways, great stuff. But I'll kick it to you. And again, I didn't even say it. January 19th, 91, we're in Miami, Florida, Miami Arena, packed house, 16,000 there. So again, just love this show, but talk about this tag match.
Yeah. So this one, again, kind of opening the card actually on this one. But you had really the Rockers were, I say, like, I ain't even using the standard tag team, but they were a rising tag team. They had at this point, this was behind them was what we'll call the non-win-win of the title belts at the house show in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which they weren't actually credited for. And so that kind of, goes back to that. And so, yeah. And so, kind of dealing with that. And so, we had that. And of course, the behind the scenes, was it Brett? Was it, who knows? But, so we're always going to have that kind of out there in the air. And so, but tag team we have not talked about ever before, the Orient Express on the show here. First time welcome 2023 to the payoff. And so they actually had at a time what would have been considered a fairly long feud with the Rockers. Actually starting at WrestleMania 6, for those of you that remember, where the Orient Express was victorious via count out. Actually, he threw salt in Jannetty's eyes on this one. And so, and they really continued to feud on and off for, this is January of 91. And like, there was a long feud that was going on this one. And so a little bit of background on the Orient Express. Like this is kind of our first time talking about them on the show here it was actually SummerSlam. They only had 2 pay-per-view appearances, and this was Tanaka and Sato of this tag team. And so the Orient Express was actually a couple different people, and so the mask kind of we're going to see it was actually somebody else in this one. And so it was actually SummerSlam 1990 where they defeated Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Nikolai Volkov. And then they also were part of the Sergeant Slaughter led team, the Mercenaries, as well too. So kind of their only times on pay-per-view as the two of them. Saito actually decided to leave WWE, WWF at this point, but they still wanted the tag team as we used to do back then. And so they actually gave, who was Paul Diamond, formerly of Bad Company, reuniting actually with Tanaka. They gave him the mask in order to conceal the fact that he was not Asian. And so, again, probably wouldn't get away with that nowadays. And so, in kind of changing the name up as well too. These guys actually only had 2 matches as well too. Of course, this match that we're about to cover, and then another match actually against the New Hart Foundation of Jim Neidhart and Rocket Owen Hart. It was actually the following Royal Rumble in 1992. And so, coming into this match though, you had the Rockers as the faces and the Orient Express as the heels on this one. So just to set that up a little bit, and so that's it. Like I said, a long feud, a lot of different matches. Like we have to go back and check out that WrestleMania 6 moment as well too that kind of got this kicked off. But overall, yeah, that it's kind of how we got here, and I think it's interesting opening the card on this one. We'll talk about that as we're kind of watching the match and my thoughts on where it stacks in the ratings of kind of opening matches. But yeah, that's all I got for now.
Yeah, man, we got so much to cover here. 6-minute mark, Royal Rumble 1991. 6-minute mark, Royal Rumble 1991. Jeff, are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. It's time for the payoff.
Oh, it's time for the payoff.
Royal Rumble time, and the SRO signs went out early. Holy cow, I'm telling you, I've never seen more ready athletes in my life, and I want you to check these 2 guys out here. They were back there.
We got the mask on Paul Diamond.
Yeah.
Man,
Mr. Fuji as well, too.
We got to listen to the music.
When you hear this ovation, all the come out, there they go.
64 pounds, Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty, the Rocker.
Matching outfits.
Looking great. Yeah.
These were some of my favorite outfits of theirs, too. They were just absolutely.
Look at the crowd going nuts. Everybody's on their feet. Look at them, just cheering for them.
Both these guys. Whoa! It's already started. There goes the bell. We're underway.
So a quick start on that one, but yeah, what a great. They're going nuts for them.
So you had both the Rockers up on the far turnbuckles, and then the dumping Jannetty over it, and so now they're both taking out Michaels at this point. Yep.
Let me. God, this is just going to be fun to watch. A little super kick there from Marty.
Yep.
I figured it would be appropriate to go through some of the top Rockers matches.
Of course.
So their last match together, at least that was televised and documented, was in November of 91. So keep in mind, this is January 91. By the end of the year, they'd be split up. Man, 2 dives to the outside. Awesome.
Looking great. Yep.
Place going nuts. Yeah, their final match, at least that we have documented here, was against the Nasty Boys. But man, you go back and you look at just they wrestled everyone. Ton of matches with the Hart Foundation, the Rougeos, and the Brain Busters, and these guys, Haku and the Barbarian. Just awesome, awesome matches. Now, according to Cage Match, this is the second best Rockers match ever. The top rated one that had a 1/4 star more was Arn and Tully, so the Brain Busters against the Rockers.
Yep.
So, but some of the other top matches, a couple against the Hart Foundation. One from, what was this? Probably AWA, Haku and the Barbarian. So yeah, these guys. And again, there's probably a ton of matches. That it's interesting too because a lot of these guys will tell you, oh well, our best match ever was, and they'll just enter some random house show. So it's you just wonder how many great matches, and it's true of everyone, not just these guys, but how many great matches, were never even filmed. But man, these guys were great. Obviously it all worked out, but it's like you could have kept them together another year or two, and I would have been happy to just continue watching them as a tag. And we've talked about it on here before, Jeff. But like, what could have been? I mean, the rivalry these two should have had following. I know it's the Marty Jannetty of a tag team when they break up, or even when they're together. But the reality is that if Marty, was able to stay out of trouble, and they would have been able to come up with a little bit of a gimmick or something for him. I mean, these two would have had just an incredible rivalry, and they could have both been huge stars. Yep. So it's not that, one person had to be the star. It was more, the personal demons, because, I mean, these guys both had it. So anyways.
I think to your point too, I think not only like the Rockers, but a lot of these wrestlers, like this is when they were doing 320, 30 days on the road. And they were always out there. And so I think that there was probably, especially the Rockers, we hear about all these like matches, like house show matches, like you said, where it was just phenomenal. And I think it kind of speaks to not only Sean's work ethic, but Marty's as well too, of like these guys. It didn't matter if it was a house show. It didn't matter, what it was. If it was some gymnasium somewhere. They were going out there and they were working hard every single match and trying to put on the best that they could. And so I think that speaks a lot to just their work ethic and kind of what they did. Of course, I know we've over the years discussed do the Rockers deserve a spot in the Hall of Fame? I know that's something Marty wants. We are advocates for that as well too. And so, right now they're really putting on a clinic at this point. Great tag team wrestling, got the tags and Sean kind of coming off the top rope at this point. You got some kind of, I say rest holds or just some kind of submission holds at this point, kind of keeping the ring cut off and the guys on the mat. And so, I think it really just speaks to, and at this point too, I feel like, before the breakup and, maybe this was when there was a little less animosity between the guys as well too. I know Marty's talked to us about they'd had some really good times on the road and being together. And I think this is where we were in the heart of that, where they were so synced up and they were putting on just some of the best work possible.
Who were let's not just during this era, but in general, like who were your favorite tag teams?
I always remember wanting the Legion of Doom pads. I didn't know about the behind the scenes stuff and the New Japan stuff or anything, but I always thought the presentation of the Legion of Doom was just absolutely super cool. I for whatever reason, like I always connect with, I thought part of this was just the name. Earthquake and Typhoon were just a great tag team. Like, the splash is the finisher, just kind of like, their presentation wasn't crazy, but I thought that it was just like, their how they were presented and stuff like that. It was just very cool. I remember I remember being a somewhat of a fan of the Nasty Boys too, because they were just like so crazy and like frantic, and they weren't there was a very different style to a lot of these wrestlers, which I thought was just, it was very cool. And so, it was the era of like, if you had a job, you could be a wrestler type thing, but also like very different presentations on a lot of these. For the Rockers, super high knee there from Michaels was great. And then the Nasty Boys, I thought were a little bit more brutal. Those are some of the ones I really, and I will always and forever be a fan of Bushwhackers as well too. Can't forget about the Bushwhackers. So
Hard Foundation, Demolition. I love Legion of Doom as well. Rockers. I just, this era of tag team wrestling, it just to me doesn't get any better than it ever. Yep. Now look, I mean, if you turn on Young Bucks and FTR now, are they having incredible matches? Yes. What I'm saying though is like the colorfulness of these teams. Like, I mean, the matching outfits and the mannerisms and the entrance music. I mean, Demolition's music, LODs, the Rockers, how good the Hart Foundation were of kind of two completely different guys versus two guys that look the same, like Sean and Marty. Like, man, it's just, I love this era of tag team wrestling. And it's not that every match was great, but it was just, I mean, it was so much fun. And they were true tag teams, and they stayed together for a really long time. And it was just two singles guys thrown together. But yeah, I mean, I love it. Now, that being said, I mean, I feel like there's some great tag team wrestling now, but hell, it felt like for a good 10 to 15 year period, tag team wrestling was just completely dead. And it was cringeworthy to go back and look at some of those like Raw and SmackDown only pay-per-views and tag team champions were of each, like just horrible. But, Vince didn't like tag team wrestling. So now, the Usos I think they're fantastic. I think, it feels like every match they're in is just excellent. AEW has great tag team wrestling as well.
Yeah, well, and I think back to it, kind of just a weird observation as we're kind of naming out some of these tag teams. I feel like in recent years we've seen that just the tag teams get thrown together, which it happens more times than not. And we always talk about like, oh, they don't have their music or they don't have like the look together or anything like that. Think back to some of these big tag teams, like the Rockers, like even we stopped to listen to the Rockers music and they look the same. You feel like the British Bulldogs had the same look, even the Hart Foundation, with the sings and stuff like that, which was always a good look. The Mega Powers had the matching trunks for a while there, and so I think at LOD with the pads and stuff like that, I think that makes such a difference in the presentation. Like it's something so little, like giving them matching attire, that really helps to get them over. We got great tag team wrestling here at this point. So yeah, kind of reversal. The Rockers.
Sean just did a moonsault.
Yes, and so trying to wrap or kind of throw them into each other in the center of the ring. But these guys, oh boy, just great backflips, drop kicking them. Yeah.
How long has this match been going? Probably about 15 minutes or so, Hot Rod. Full speed, 15 minutes. You people don't just try jumping up and down. Look at there's two.
High flying. Marty disappears on the far side of the ring with Russ body. Michael's on the front, on the hard side, and this side of the hard cam as well too. High flying. These guys are all over the place. This is great.
It's excellent.
Look at the fans too, just losing their minds for them. Rightfully so, but yeah. Good stuff. Good wrestling. And right back to a little bit of mat wrestling there too. Just great in ring, all this stuff. But anyways, when I put a bow on what I said, like spend a little bit extra time with your tag teams. Like even like the New Day, they have the same look. The Usos obviously have the same look, but then also just put a little bit of effort into making us be invested in these tag teams. Remember, it was a big deal when Kairi Sane and Asuka got like matching outfits and music. And so, but even that, okay, we're going to team Asuka and Alexa Bliss. It's like they couldn't be any further from what a tag team stands for, because they don't they come out separate. Like I think that's one of the worst things you can do with a tag team is they come out separate. Like how is that supposed to get me over? I think at the time when FTR left as the Revival, like they were dead on of like tag team. There was just no focus on tag team wrestling in WWE. It was bad. And we got to meet them. They're a really nice guy. I think they're incredibly smart in the ring. If you remember when you and I got to visit the Performance Center for the day, like it was one of them was actually one of the ones that gave like the final speech of like why wrestling is important and supporting their family and all this other stuff. And so they're very committed to the sport and entertaining. And so, I think that's just kind of like when you're doing that and you're that invested in it, we get invested in that too. And so, and even this, you're invested for moment one, like we play the Rockers music, and how can you not be excited about that music as soon as you hear it? It's like certain riffs, like the Warrior music or Hogan, like you just get excited as soon as you hear that music hit.
Man, really, really good wrestling. Fuji with that cane. As a kid, so dangerous, like completely selling it, of course.
I always thought that the tennis racket.
Yeah.
And Cornette. Yep, absolutely. So you got Michaels now kind of getting cut off from the ring at this point. and kind of getting beat up a little bit. So I assume we're building toward the hot tag at this point now. So this is one too. We're kind of halfway through this match right now. I think it's something for us to think about after this. Of course, Brett and Owen being the pinnacle of an opening card match. This one so far, I don't know if it exceeds it necessarily, but I think that, I guess, what are your thoughts on if you ain't last, you go first type mentality that we've heard over the years with wrestling? Is that where you want to be too?
I think it's completely true. And I think it's even more so now than ever before because, it's the main event in the last slot. I just think we're, back in the day, and especially like the WWF, it was, a lot of those were like one match cards. It was Hogan and Savage at WrestleMania and then a bunch of other shit. Now it's like, I feel like these cards have 6 matches and all 6 have been hyped up and all 6 have the opportunity to steal the show. So I think the main event's a lot less important now than ever before. And yeah, I think the first match out, you get a hot crowd, and why not? It's interesting. Meltzer called this the best WWF pay-per-view event ever. Now, granted, there weren't a ton at that point, but you probably 10 or 15 that they have done at this point. You've done, let's see, you've done 6 WrestleManias, couple Survivor Series, couple SummerSlams. So yeah, this is, like I said, it's how highly regarded this was. This won the best match poll by a mile.
Yes. Yep. I saw that too. Yeah.
Obviously. And then almost everyone, 90% had thumbs up on the show. So yeah, just a really well-regarded show. It's interesting. I saw Jake the Snake involved and, Hulk Hogan, obviously a couple weeks ago on Jake's podcast, he was talking about, and he's mentioned this before, but he was supposed to have a big feud with Hulk Hogan. And it didn't happen. There were a variety of reasons why. I mean, which he obviously gets into. But I just thought it was interesting that, again, if you worked Hogan like Earthquake did this particular year, dude, you were a made man. Like, like the way the timing of the Jake thing worked out, it could have been him and Hogan headlining WrestleMania 8, if you can believe that.
Yep.
So it's interesting, and Jake ended up doing the Savage thing, and, they kind of blew that off quickly, and Savage went on to win the title. But it's just, look, there's obviously skills involved in this business, but there's also some luck and timing and, what could have happened, and just very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. This is when Marty's begging for the hot tag here. You got Michaels, who's just been kind of getting choked out. We checked his arms a couple times here. You may want to hit the sound when we get the hot tag here, because Michaels has been getting worked over here for about 6-7 minutes, I feel like. And the ring just kind of cut off at this point too. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they handle this here. Yep. Yeah, I'm with you. Absolutely. I think it's just one of those where it's just interesting. Absolutely.
Well, I'm going to mix Royal Rumble trivia in for these Royal Rumble matches.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Who's won the most Royal Rumbles ever?
Won the most? I should know this, but I don't know.
Steve Austin with 3.
3. Yep, that makes sense. Yep.
Okay. Now we've had 8 people, which is crazy to think about. 8 people have won 2.
Okay. Edge.
Yep.
John Cena.
Yep.
Batista.
Yep.
Triple H would be one. Did I say Orton? Did Orton win?
That would be that's number 5. You got 5.
Okay. I can't think of anybody else.
Two. It's funny. You got 5 of 8. 2 of the 3 left are obvious that you're going to kick yourself for not knowing.
Brock.
That's number 6.
Oh shit.
2 left that are both obvious that I can't believe you didn't get.
I can't. That's where I'm at right now. Who else?
Hogan and Shawn Michaels.
Oh fuck yeah, duh. Right. Yeah. Should have known that.
We get the hot tag now.
All right, here we go. Hot takes coming up. We had Michaels kind of avoiding.
What presence of mind by Shawn Michaels.
could pull that one off.
They are already loud as hell.
Look out! It's Marty go bananas right after right. Scoop slam and another one. This place has gone crazy. Irish whip
Drop kicks there. That's okay.
Power slam.
I mean, just awesome stuff. Awesome.
That was it. And London's a big dude. Like, Marty got him around with some ease on that power slam. That was impressive. Like, yeah.
What are
quite the pop? Yeah.
What are the 3 places to produce the most Royal Rumble winners?
Like venues?
No, numbers. Like, what number did they come out?
Oh, interesting. I think, isn't it usually in the teens? I feel like 16 or 17 is the number that I've seen recently. I forget. Or maybe 13. I forget.
27, 28, and 30 have the most winners.
Really? Wow. Okay. So it does benefit to come in late. Okay.
1 and 24 each have 3.
With Ray and I forget who else were the first ones.
Edge was 1.
At Edge, yep. Flair? No,
Flair was 3.
Okay.
Benoit was 1 in 2004.
Okay, got it. Yep.
Edge and Benoit are the only 2 to win at 1. Mysterio won at 2.
Yes. Okay, got
Which
it.
anyone would tell you is the same as 1 because they come out at the same time.
Right, yeah.
Don't let that fool you. That was still remarkable what he was able to do.
Ooh, jeez.
So if you're gonna have Cody win the Rumble,
yep.
Does he come out at 1, 30, or somewhere in the middle?
I would think get him out there maybe like at 20, 25, something like that, because that way you can not to say that he doesn't have the stamina to go 60 plus minutes. I think that way he comes in, you see him get a little bit of action in, he dumps maybe 2-3 people, has a face off with Seth. Seth gets dumped out by somebody else, and then Cody kind of runs the table, with everybody else. And there we go.
So after all that, just one on the one.
This place is going nuts, and it's just begun.
How did these guys never get the title?
Fantastic win here for the
Seriously,
Rockers
man.
at the Royal Rumble.
Look how over they are. They sold merch.
Rockers, you make me proud.
Great job with Piper on commentary.
Tremendous ovation here for the Rockers. Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. Right now, let's go to Sean Mooney.
Good stuff. Okay.
Fantastic. All right, let's get into the aftermath.
Ho! It's time for the aftermath.
What'd you think?
Better than I expected. I'm glad we got that recommendation, because that was one match I'm glad we didn't sleep on. Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah. It's just great rockers. What's not to love about them, They were flying all over the place. That was really nice. And so, yeah, just really good stuff coming out of the Rockers. And so this one, though, of course, as we all know, does not have the happy ending, unfortunately. And so it was actually after teaming for the better part of 5-6 years. We know that while the start of 91 started strong, end of 1991, not so strong. So, of course, the early December 91, the famous, of course, barbershop spot, as we all know it, taking place, and then the breakup of the Rockers. And so we all know that one. I've seen that one before, so we're familiar with that. And so actually the Orient Express, actually, you had the previous team reforming, and kind of coming back. There was some, and they had some 6-man tag matches actually at some house shows, but then again, Sato leaving again very early, or only after a couple of matches and stuff like that. You had guys like Tanaka actually leaving in February of 92, so he was around for another year after this one. And Paul Diamond just never really it never really took off. And so after this, and so of course, wrestling is mass, but then also I forgot wrestling is Max Moon as well too for a little while there. And so, but the gimmicks just never really taking off or turning into anything. So, and this match Tom has already set. So PWI on this one, of course, you had Sean at 37, Marty at 57, Kato at 163, Pat Tanaka at 147. The newsletter on this one, of course, as we already said, this was the best WWF pay-per-view match since the 1987 Ricky Steamboat versus Randy Savage match at WrestleMania 3. While not constant action, it was mainly action with the Rockers providing many exceptional moves. Clearly, Michaels is one of the most talented individuals inside of the business right now. 4 stars. Hopefully this Michaels kid has what it takes to make it in the industry back in 1991. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. But Tom, just really good stuff on that. I had one other review that I kind of read that I wanted to share on this one, just from this was an outstanding tag match full of excitement, great tag work from both sides, and an awesome finish. It was one of the first great tag matches in Sean's legendary career. The selling displayed by Michaels was tremendous, which is something he later built into it. It built his career around. And when Marty tagged in, the fans were so loud for it. Everything after that was tag team wrestling perfection. It looked so smooth. The Orient Express worked well as a tag team, and they were the perfect match for the high energy Rockers team. So, Tom, thoughts?
I loved it, man. I mean, home run, great tag team match. Again, should have been champions. They're over. Place going nuts. This was peak Rockers. I'll put this at an 8.5 because I think it's a great match. It's about the Rockers. It's about tag teams during this era. It's about this show. It's about the crowd. Yeah, I think this is just fantastic. What about you?
I have it at an 8, actually. I think that it's almost impressive in this era to see so much high-flying action, but also that was the Rockers. And so we shouldn't be surprised. There were some big bumps on this one too. They were flying all especially the stuff to the outside. We had started with the suicide dives. You had the crossbodies off of the top rope to the outside. You had Michaels that even just getting dumped when they were going for a move and stuff like that from the top rope to the outside. And so not just a cake in the, or a walk in the park type of match. And so I was really impressed with just the work that they put into this one. And so hard to not give it hard to give this one a bad score because it was so good. So I'm an 8 on this one. Yeah.
Good, man. Well, this was a lot of fun.
Yes, of course. We want to remind everybody, start the new year, a little extra cash in your pocket, whatever you might be doing. Of course, our 2 sponsors. Don't forget about manscaped.com using our promo code there. That is payoff. It gets you 20% off and free shipping. And then, of course, True Classic Tees. Use our promo code payoff25 there, 25% off everything that's in your cart. So, Tom, let's send them home happy and start the new year right.
All right, man. Well, we're going to have a great 2023. This was a phenomenal way to kick it off. Jeff, as always, great job picking the matches. Yes. Yeah, we'll see you next week on an all-new episode of The Payoff.